Leo, the Late Bloomer by Robert Kraus. Pictures by Jose Aruego. How are you today, my friend? How are you today? I hope that you're okay, my friend. Oh, deep in my heart, I want to say, I hope that you're okay today. You do the same thing that Red Squirrel does, Perry. I know, it's fun. It is fun. I wanted to show everybody, here, you want to hold that little one? That Perry and I completed both of the pink yarn balls. Thank you, Perry. You're welcome. So it's very exciting. I have nothing to unravel or to put together today. I'm going to set this over here. Hey, Greg. Yeah, Perry. There's this book you're reading. It says Leo, the Late Bloomer. What does that mean, late bloomer? What does late bloomer mean? That is a wonderful question, Perry. The first thing I want to say is I want you to remember, or maybe you didn't know in the first place, this book was written in 1971. Wow, that's a very long time ago. It is a very long time ago. It's almost 50 years ago that this book was written. And so the term late bloomer is a term that I can explain to you, but we really don't use the term late bloomer anymore. Part of the reason I wanted to read this book is because the illustrations are simply gorgeous, and I really enjoy the message also with regards to Leo. So you know, Perry, how for all of us, be we humans like me, porcupines like you, red squirrels like Red Squirrel, ostriches like Ms. Tritch, robins like Robin, that all creatures are born and they kind of grow and develop. Do you know what that means? Yep. So we start off as infants, yeah? And then we become toddlers, and then we are walking and we become children, and then we become adults, we grow up. And along the way, there are various things that we generally learn how to do. Like for me, as a human, we learn how to crawl, and then we learn how to walk, and many of us learn how to talk. But for some of us who are deaf, we learn how to sign or to communicate. I think we could say it that way. And there are, for example, Mr. Greg, that's me, that's you, would have been considered a sort of a late bloomer in some ways. When I was very young, I needed to wear braces on my legs to assist because my legs weren't developing in the way that was predicted. And you'll remember that I broke my ankle not too long ago, and I had all over again to sort of relearn how to walk on the ankle that broke. Now, also, did you know that I was in speech therapy until I was in 5th grade? No, I didn't know that. Yeah. So in some ways, I was a late bloomer, meaning that I needed some amount of time to achieve what people call developmental norms, or the things that many of us learn how to do. It took me a bit longer. And fortunately, I had very wonderful, inclusive, understanding, kind teachers and my mom along the way. Oh, I guess I was kind of a late bloomer. Oh yeah? In what way, Perry? Well, I needed some extra time to be able to use these two hands up here. And I had trouble eating, and so my uncle, yeah, he helped me by feeding me, and then, sort of gently helping my arms. And now I have mostly functioned of my arms and can eat and play and dance and do those things. So you're feeling like you were also a bit of a late bloomer in certain ways, huh, Perry? Yep. And so this is a story about Leo. And in the story, so many people are worried about Leo. Just like people were likely worried about me, and other porcupines were worried about you. And the thing I love about this story and about my experience, and yours also, Perry, is that we were given the chance to develop and to grow in the ways that our bodies were growing. And we felt really loved and supported, yeah? Yep. So shall we read the book? Yeah, let's read the book. Leo, the Late Bloomer. Do you think there's any word that we use today for late bloomer? I mean, I'm not sure if we use the term late bloomer, but I think that I would say that we respect, we at least should respect, that every creature develops in their own ways, and that we recognize that there's not necessarily anything wrong or bad or to be worried about if a creature needs extra time to be able to complete certain tasks or to grow in certain ways. It's a lot of words, right? Yeah, that's a lot of words. So maybe we just use late bloomer and we understand what that means, huh? Well, maybe. All right, let's read, Perry. Leo, the late bloomer. And the one thing I want you to notice, and it is something that I've noticed, is that, see here, Leo appears to be smiling, but here on this front cover page, Leo's face to me seems a bit sad. And I think that sometimes happened to me growing up, especially if I felt like people were worried about me, but also if I felt like they were unhappy with me or punishing me for me being the way that I was. Yeah, and even here, you notice that Leo even appears to be curled up in a ball, perhaps even a little bit anxious or worried. Leo couldn't do anything right. He couldn't read. Yeah. See, the elephant is reading independently. The bird is reading independently. The snake is quite happy reading independently, and the owl. And Leo's just not able to read independently. He couldn't write. See, owl is writing owl. An elephant wrote elephant. Snake, slithered snake. Ooh, and this bird is a plover. Wrote plover. Crocodile scratched out crocodile. And of course, Leo has put some really wonderful lines together, but it's not what you would imagine his name would be. And he couldn't draw, at least not the same as the others. I wouldn't say he couldn't draw, right? He certainly has drawn here. But the expectation is that he make this arm in this particular way. And Leo's just not quite there yet. So I don't know that I would say he couldn't draw, but rather he didn't draw in the way that he was expected to. And he was a sloppy eater. Yeah, I was too. See, so many of these creatures are able to utilize either their tongue or their trunk, their jaws, beaks, and Leo is having some trouble and made a bit of a mess. And you know what? Leo never said a word. Yeah, you see the owl is saying hoot, and the elephant is saying thrump, and the snake is saying hiss, and our bird, the plover, is saying pip pip, and our alligator is saying crunch. And Leo is looking frustrated. There's so many expectations. And even you see here, his papa asks him, "What's the matter with Leo?" asked his father. "Nothing," said Leo's mother. "Leo is just a late bloomer." Better late than never, thought Leo's father. I think Leo's hearing that language as well. Every day, Leo's father watched him for signs of blooming. See, and I think Leo knows he's being watched and expected to bloom in a particular way. And I think that's why we see that look on Leo's face. And every night, Leo's father watched him for signs of blooming. See, Papa's very worried. And Leo's very worried. And Mama believes there's not much to be worried about. She is simply taking care of Leo. Are you sure Leo's a bloomer? Asked Leo's father. Patience, said Leo's mother. A watched bloomer doesn't bloom. So Leo's father watched television instead. But of course we can see he did not, because he's super worried. The snows came. Leo's father wasn't watching, but Leo still wasn't blooming. I don't know. He's running around and chasing a rabbit. He seems to be blooming in his ability to run on all four legs, right? He may not be making an elephant snowman or a snake snow person or an owl snow person or a bird or an alligator, but he is sure having fun chasing creatures in the snow. The trees budded. Leo's father wasn't watching, but Leo still wasn't blooming. See, it's showing us all of the creatures with creating things with the flowers. Leo seems sad with his flower. Then one day, in his own good time, Leo bloomed. He could read, and he could write. It's such a beautiful piece of artwork also in writing. It does say Leo, doesn't it? And he could draw, and he ate neatly. He also spoke, and it wasn't just a word, it was a whole sentence. And that sentence was, I made it. I'd like to talk a little bit more with you, Perry, if that's okay. Yeah. So one thing that I noticed in the book was that, and you know, I do think about the fact that the book was written again almost 50 years ago. And everyone was so worried. But did you notice what was happening? I did. He's very unhappy. He is. And see, he's not reading precisely like the others, but he is sitting in front of a book and is very interested in stories, right? And while Leo wasn't writing with the precision of everybody else, he certainly was holding his writing tool and making lines. And here, I mean, do you think it's that he couldn't draw? No way. Look, he drew something really cool here. That's right. It's just not what everybody expected, right? Everyone was very worried. And so was he then. See, here he is as a mess eater. That was me! Right, that was you. Did anyone call you a messy eater? No, they just helped me along. I think that's quite wonderful. And but Leo didn't consistently have that support. I sure wish that we could have been there with him, right? Wish that he would have, in his class, had Perry Porcupine and Red Squirrel and Ms. Tritch and Robin, right? It just seems that in his school, there wasn't a lot of understanding of difference, of the fact that Leo was growing and learning differently. And Papa was so worried. I understand. I understand too. Mama continued to ask everyone to be patient. And eventually Leo did bloom. And this is showing, see, the thing is, when I bloomed with my legs, remember how we talked about that Mr. Greg, I didn't learn how to swim until I was in my 20s. And I didn't learn how to ride a bike until I was in my 40s. Right. So it took me 40 years, and I still am not that strong in the water. And so it's not the case. And um, sometimes I, I still have trouble with some of the things that I do with my legs. Yeah. And sometimes I'm still a little messy when I eat. Right. And is that a problem? No, it's not that much of a problem. I think perhaps, Perry, you and I, maybe we could get together and communicate with the authors here. Maybe we could write a follow-up to this book where 50 years later we look at Leo and we talk about ways that we recognize um, Leo's strengths and what Leo can do and what Leo is doing, not even what he can do. I mean, right here, we've got Leo sitting in front of a book. That's wonderful. And here, Leo is absolutely writing and drawing, right? Yeah. I think we could do a wonderful job making a book, you and I and Red Squirrel and Ms. Tritch and even Robin. Yeah. What do you think, Perry? I think it's a wonderful idea. Maybe we should try to write a book. I think maybe we could do that. We could talk about our own experiences with difference and with blooming in various ways, not just being a late bloomer, but blooming in unique and various ways. Have you ever gone out to see different flowers? Yeah, they're all so very different, right? Yes, some flowers are very small and they're round with yellow leaves, and some flowers get very big and they smell different and they look different. All of their blooming is very different, but still unique and beautiful and important. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do, Perry. You can give me a pound? Nice. I'm going to blow it up. Nice. All right. Well, thank you for hanging out with us today. We really look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. And Perry's quills feel so soft against my cheek. It's such a misconception about porcupines because we only think of porcupines when you're afraid and when your quills have to come out, right? Right. All right, buddy. I'll see you later. All right, guys. I'll see you tomorrow. Yip-a-boo-doo-doo-doo-doo.